This is a Solana account exactly as it was days ago. Not what it holds now, but what it held back then, down to the slot. Now, Solana RPC methods, they do not normally allow you to do this. Ask your current RPC node about yesterday's state and you will get nothing. Until recently, this meant running your own archival validator, weeks to set up and months to harden. And I just did that with one API call, so let me show you how. So this is the tool that we have created. It's called Rewind, and you can think of it as a time machine for Solana state. Rewind keeps a duplicated archive of every account write on mainnet, growing towards a rolling 90-day window. And it exposes that archive through 6 RPC-style calls, like point-in-time account state, full write history, and differences between any two moments. And you can also simulate transactions against the chain how it was back then, so not the current state, but against the historical state with more than 99% match rate. Now don't worry about the RPC calls yet, I will walk through all the calls with you soon live. Okay, so who actually needs this? Now, if you're building trading bots, you know the pain. Most backtests that we are doing is against reconstructed data that never really existed. With Rewind, you can test against the actual account state that your bot would have seen at that exact slot. That's the difference between testing or backtesting and a guess. And it works also backwards, as I said. For example, take a real arbitrage transaction, diff the accounts around it and get the true profit straight from the chain state. And that's exactly what we're going to do in a minute. I'm going to take a real Solana arbitrage transaction, rewind the chain to watch the exact moment that opportunity was born. And then we're going to scan the whole token to see who else was been farming it. Now, there are many more use cases, like for example, incident response, where you can replay transactions against last week's chain state and watch what actually happened. This used to be hours of forensic digging and now it's just a simple diff call. So right now Rewind is in a 60-day beta, free for existing SVS RPC customers. Production pricing isn't out yet, but compare it to the alternative, which is running your own archive node. Alright, enough slides. I've built a small implementation on top of this and I want to show you how it looks in practice and how it works. So let's rewind some state. Alright, so before I show you the implementation that I made, I'm going to go through the calls real quick as I promised, and I opened Postman here. So as you can see, I have the 6 calls here on the left. The first one is a traditional get account info call that we're going to do to a RPC node, and that will return the state of the account that we are going to request. So this is a wallet from me, and if I send that request to a regular RPC node, you will see that it returns the state of that wallet. And we can also see that that wallet holds around 0.17 Solana. This is mentioned in Lamports, of course. Now, if we want to do the same exact call, but we're going to do it to a /rewind endpoint, and as I said earlier, existing SVS customers that have RPC nodes, they can use the /rewind endpoint and then mention the slot that they want to rewind to. Now, if you are going to look at that exact same wallet, but this time we specify a slot that is about 14 days in the past, and if we send that call once again, you will see that it comes back with the account state how it looked back then. Now, what we can already see here is that it back then held around 2.6 Solana, and this is not the current 0.17 Solana anymore. So we can see that there is a change compared to the current state, and it's almost the same call that I did. It's called get account info. However, this time I just specified the slot that I want to rewind to, and also I used the /rewind endpoint. Now, as I said, there are more RPC calls that we can do. For example, get multiple accounts. So here I have 2 wallets, the same account that we just checked out, and a additional one, and we're going to look at the same slot. So again, here you can see the account states for these 2 wallets, and also here we can see that back then it held around 2.6 Solana. Now we can also look at account changes. So here I have that same wallet, and I can specify a from slot and a to slot, and this is the slot in the past, the 14 days back, and this is a more current slot. And if I send that call now, then we can see that we have changes here, and this is, for example, the transaction that led to the decrease of the Solana from the 2.6 Sol to the 0.17 Sol. So this is the change that occurred in between these 2 slots, as you can see here, the from slot and the to slot. Now another call that we can do is the diff call, and here we can specify that same wallet as you can see, and we can also provide it a signature, and we can say we want to see the difference in this account from this signature point of view. So how did this account look before this signature happened and also after? So if we run this call now, you can see that that wallet originally held 2.6 Solana because that was before that signature that led to the decrease of the Solana, and then also how it looked after. So it's really easy to see the differences in account state if we have a transaction, for example, before and after. Now we can also simulate historical transactions and we can get the rewind coverage. So if we send this call here, we can see what is covered, for example, the start slot, so the earliest slot, and we also have the latest slot, and also if there are any gaps. So if you want to use rewind, this call is really useful because you can check out what the coverage is currently and what the gaps are. But as I said, we have more than 99% match rate. Now again, as you can see, these are the 6 calls that we can use to really get this account states out. And with that said, let's check out a real implementation that I have built on top of this, where we are going to take a real Solana arbitrage transaction, we are going to replay it, and then we're going to audit the token that it actually happened on. And with that said, let's get started. Alright, so this is our code base for today, and this is a TypeScript project that is built on top of a rewind that we are going to use to rewind a arbitrage transaction, and then we're also going to audit that transaction based on the involved token. Now, arbitrage on Solana is the automated practice where we take advantage of price discrepancies of the same token across multiple decentralized exchanges. That is what we're going to do, or at least we're going to replay a existing one. Now these 2 files we can run manually and it will output all the data that we require. Now in order to create a really nice summary, we can use it within Cloud or within any other agent framework, that's up to you. We're going to use AI to process the data that these functions or these scripts return. And then we're going to ask it for a brief summary to see what actually happened. So I have an existing arbitrage signature that I can use. So what we can ask here is, can you replay the arbitrage for a signature? Then we provide that signature and provide a brief summary of the profit, when it was born and died, and provide also the token address and also keep it short. And if we press enter, then Cloud will invoke that script here called rewind arb replay, and it will provide us with a brief summary. It will also provide us the token, and that token we can use to do an actual audit on that token itself. Now, as you can see here, it's discovering the transaction context. It's checking the rewind coverage, such as I showed you earlier. It's also walking back until the first non-profitable sample. So it's really using that script here built on top of rewind to get us that full summary of that arbitrage transaction. So eventually it says that the replay was complete, and here is a short summary. And this is the ARP replay that we did. This is the slot. It has netted a 10 USDC profit. This is the token, so it's a pump token, so we can copy this. And it was born in the same slot on block position 50, created by this trigger, and it also says when it died. So the block position 370 of the same slot when this ARP captured it. So it was not a long-lived arbitrage transaction. However, it says here that the opportunity held steady at 10 USDC for its entire 320 transaction life. One position earlier, it's simulated at -11. So you can see that this is a brief summary and that we used the rewind endpoints using that script. So what we can ask now next is, please audit the arbitrage for token, and then the token that was involved. So we get a summary, a short response, but we can see that also the audit works, and that will give us a bit more information on who actually was farming this token as well, who was running arbitrage against it, besides this one arbitrage transaction. Alright, so as you can see, the audit is complete, and it says here the pump token ARP audit, and then also the actual pump token address. It captured 16 ARPs across 198 pump swap /DLM pools by 9 searcher wallets, and it was heavily skewed. The lifetimes are long and most were sheep captures, as you can see here. Note that the 10 USDC ARP from earlier replay doesn't show here. It went through real program pools, not the PumpSwap DLM set this audit covers. That's fine. However, the main takeaway is that we can use Rewind to actually replay these ARP transactions, to audit these ARP transactions, and we can create, of course, multiple functionalities just around arbitrage itself. If you are interested in that, let us know and we can deep dive into, for example, arbitrage opportunities, the strategies itself. If that is something that you're interested in, let us know in the comments and we might create a dedicated video just on this code base itself, how it is implemented. There are many more use cases that we can build on top of a Rewind, and once again, it is free at the moment for SVS RPC customers. So if you want to check it out, the documentation is all available. I will put the link in the description. And once again, if you have questions, feedback or suggestions, put them in the comments. We read all of them and we will come back as soon as possible to you. That's it for today. I hope you think it was interesting and I'll see you in the next one.